Hi, everyone. My name is Greg Charles. I am a current umpire in the Central Coast Collegiate Baseball Umpire Association. I am one of the trainers for the group, and I am a current Division I umpire in the Pac-12 Conference, the West Coast Conference, the Big West Conference, and the Western Athletic Conference.
Hi, I'm Byron Becker. I used to umpire with the CCCBUA, and now I work making these videos and in a technical capacity for the group.
All right, so in today's segment, we're going to go over bench jockeying. By the end of this video, you should feel comfortable identifying bench jockeying and knowing how to effectively address it on the field. Bench jockeying is described in Rule 5.17 of the NCAA Rule Book as players or coaches using language to personally attack or degrade opposing players, coaches, umpires, or spectators. Simply put, coaches and players should not address the other team or officials in a negative fashion. One of the most common examples of bench jockeying in college baseball occurs via orchestrated activities by the dugout meant to distract, intimidate, or rattle the opposing team or reflect poor sportsmanship.
Can you provide some specific examples of bench jockeying?
This is not an all-inclusive list, but here are a few examples. Negative language or offensive mocking gestures directed towards an infielder from the field after the player made an error. Yelling 3 after the pitcher has thrown 3 straight balls and continues for each consecutive ball. Pounding on the yellow protective barrier or patting on the dugout. Chants or coordinated noise, crescendo or yelling in unison, getting louder right before the pitch with the purpose of distracting a player on the opposing team, such as a pitcher. Okay, so in this video, I am hearing elevated noise from the dugout, and I'm immediately looking into this dugout to assess the situation. I see this dugout is now getting into orchestrated noise or bench jockeying that is intimidating, distracting towards the other team. At this point, I'm going to call time. I am going to address this behavior with that dugout by issuing warnings and notifying the head coach that this bench jockeying behavior needs to stop immediately. And if it does not, the individuals will be ejected by rule for bench jockeying.
When we're issuing warnings for bench jockeying, should we address the head coach, the specific groups of players that we're doing the bench jockeying, or the entire team?
It depends on the scenario, but most likely, yes, I would address all of them. I am definitely going to address the specific offenders and warn them, as well as notifying the head coach that those individuals have been warned. And the reason is I am trying to get that behavior stopped at the lowest level. If I could get that head coach to address his dugout and stop that behavior from continuing, then hopefully we won't have any further problems with this issue.
So Greg, I think we covered this somewhat, but what specific verbiage should umpires use when referring to bench jockeying and issuing warnings?
You need to be specific, and you address that dugout, those individuals, and say, this is your warning for bench jockeying. If you continue, you will be ejected by rule. So in this video, it talks about that this is a pregame dugout chant. A pregame dugout chant or a chant in between innings, as long as it's directed at their team and not negatively directed towards the other team in an unsportsmanlike manner, this is okay. If they're doing this in between innings to fire themselves up for an inning and it's directed at their own team, I don't have a problem with this.
Where should umpires draw the line between enthusiasm and bench jockeying?
For me, I think it just comes down to, is that enthusiasm directed at their team or the opposing team? And is that enthusiasm directed towards the opposing team to intimidate, distract, and is it unsportsmanlike in nature? So in this video, you have a unique college atmosphere in which the fans chant how many times this opposing pitcher throws a ball in a row. This behavior and orchestrated by the fans is allowed. However, if the dugout participates in this chant with the crowd or on their own, that is something where it is orchestrated bench jockeying done in a manner to intimidate, distract the opposing team, and is unsportsmanlike in nature. If the dugout does this, you will call timeout, warn the dugout that this bench jockeying orchestrated behavior needs to stop, and if not, the offenders will be ejected from the ball game.
So Greg, what tools as umpires do we have at our disposal to address bench jockeying?
The tools we have are our physical presence. Our physical presence can be using our nonverbal cues, from staring into the dugout, walking towards the dugout, letting them know that I am hearing what they're saying. And if that doesn't stop the behavior, then I would escalate to issuing verbal warnings to the specific individuals, as well as addressing that specific behavior with the head coach. If that behavior continues, then I would escalate my actions to ejecting the specific individual and or individuals. And if the behavior continues some more, then I would eject the head coach.
So when does bench jockeying require a warning versus an ejection?
It depends on the situation, of course. If you're going to go to an ejection, the behavior of that offender needs to be unsportsmanlike, vulgar, where you have a decorum violation, inciting a fight, or anything like that, then that is where you're going to immediately go to an ejection. One main reason why you're going to immediately go to an ejection is you're trying to prevent anything further from happening. If you eject one person and it doesn't escalate from there, then that is a good job on your part from de-escalating it any further. Okay, this is a vulgar, inappropriate interaction between the head coach and the opposing pitcher. This opposing pitcher feels like the Orioles in this instance are tipping pitches. The pitcher takes offense to it, and he's alerting them that he knows about this.
Dugout for some reason. Not sure what's going on with this delay here, but Martin has stepped out of the box.
We can't say anything? Just the fucking ball. We ain't saying shit. Keep fucking go.
Brandon Hyde. He is arguing with somebody, I'm not sure who.
The head coach is going to stick up for his dugout because he doesn't feel like they are tipping pitches. And now we're going to get into he's getting into a verbal exchange with this pitcher. This is an extreme example, in my opinion, of bench jockeying.
Swing and a miss. Got him with the fastball upstairs. Big strikeout. First out of the inning. Well, that's who he's hollering at. Yep. He's hollering at Robbie Ray.
In Major League Baseball, there is no rule that addresses bench jockeying. In college ball, this is a decorum violation, warranting an immediate ejection. Once that head coach starts swearing and address an opposing player, that has crossed the line. His language, he's immediately ejected for this offense. This offense warrants an immediate ejection too, because if you do not have an immediate ejection, this situation will escalate further. But if you're letting everyone know that this is totally crossed the line and you're ejecting this head coach, hopefully that will stop any further behavior from both teams.
So Greg, why is it important for us to address bench jockeying?
Well, first and foremost, because the NCAA Rule Book prohibits it. It's a point of emphasis throughout the years as this has become a significant problem in baseball. The NCAA Rule Book has explicitly defined bench jockeying, as well as the specific penalties that must be enforced by the umpires on the field. In addition, by firmly stopping bench jockeying when it first occurs, you are reducing the possibility of escalation, retaliation, and ejections. Finally, bench jockeying is explicitly prohibited for all coaches, players in the NCAA Code of Ethics.